In the busy heart of Lagos City, surrounded by noise, traffic, and glowing lights, stood a tall, beautiful building known as Ola's residence. A two-story cream-colored mansion with shiny gates and polished tiles. Every passerby admired it. The flowers bloomed perfectly. The walls sparkled under the sun, and at night, its lights never went out. But those who had ever lived there knew a dark truth, that house ate destinies. Inside those bright walls, people lost everything: their wealth, their peace, their children, and their lives. The owner, Mr. Ola, was a man of great wealth and quiet power. He was respected, feared, and envied, but few knew how he got his fortune. Behind his fine suits, expensive perfumes, and calm smile, he belonged to a secret order, an occult group that demanded prosperity through the suffering of others. Before the mansion rose, the land was bare, an empty plot near the city's edge. Years ago, when Ola was still poor, he had gone to meet a certain Alhaji, a man who whispered secrets of wealth that could not be found in banks or schools. Alhaji told him, "If you truly want riches, you must give what is pure to gain what is lasting. Your wealth will flow from those who dwell in your shadow." That night, under the cover of darkness, Mr. Ola performed the ritual. He brought a male ram, black from horn to hoof, a symbol of life and strength. At midnight, he slaughtered it with his own hand, letting the blood soak into the soil where he planned to build his house. Then, under Al-Haji's instruction, he buried charms, one at each corner of the foundation, and one at the entrance of the gate, wrapped in a red cloth with cowries, hair, and small bones. The charm was sealed with an incantation. As they enter, their blessings depart. As they sleep, their spirits shall serve. When the first block was laid, the ground trembled slightly, and the wind blew cold, though it was midsummer. From that day, everything Mr. Ola touched turned to gold. His business boomed. Money flowed like water, and so the house rose, beautiful, modern, and full of light. But its foundation was darkness, and from the very first day tenants moved in, their lives began to wither. The first tenants were a cheerful young couple, Michael and Ruth, newly married, full of hope. They paid 1 year's rent and settled into Flat 3. The first few weeks were peaceful, almost perfect. Then Ruth began to fall sick. Food spoiled overnight. Her sewing machine jammed. At night, they heard footsteps in the living room, soft whispers by the window, and sometimes the creak of the wardrobe opening by itself. Ruth became pregnant, and joy returned briefly until her 7th month. That night, she woke screaming, clutching her belly. She pointed at the ceiling, trembling. "Michael, someone's watching us." Right there. Michael saw nothing but shadows. By dawn, she had miscarried. The doctors called it complications, but Ruth knew something unseen had taken the child. They moved out weeks later, leaving their furniture behind. As Ruth crossed the gate, she whispered, "That house eats children." After they left, a rich businessman named Chief Okone moved into Flat 5. He was proud, loud, and mocked the neighborhood's stories. "You people fear too much," he said. "I make my own luck." He lived large, to cars, parties every weekend, laughter that echoed through the street. He became close to Mr. Ola. They drank together often. But within 3 months, his empire collapsed. His drivers left, his account was frozen, his partners betrayed him. At night, he heard soft knocking inside his wardrobe. One evening, he opened it and found a small black pot filled with feathers and cowries, hidden behind his suits. The next morning, he confronted Mr. Ola. "What is this doing in my room?" Ola smiled calmly. "Our chief, maybe your maid placed it there. You know women and their charms." By the end of the month, Chief Okone had sold everything. When he left the compound barefoot, he muttered, "When you sleep there, something sleeps beside you and takes what's yours." Then came Madam Ifeoma, a widow with 2 children. She took Flat 2 because it was cheap and close to her shop. The first night, her little boy woke crying, "Mama, a tall man is standing near my bed." There was no one there. Within a month, both children fell ill, fever, cough, then silence. The boy died first. Doctors found nothing wrong. One evening, the gateman saw Mr. Ola at the gate, pouring palm oil into the soil and burying something in a black cloth, the same spot where everyone stumbled when entering. The next morning, Madam Ifeoma moved out without looking back. Before long, the house gained a reputation, the house of silent sorrows. Tenants came with hope but left in ruins. Pregnant women lost their babies, men lost their wealth, children died, and joy vanished like smoke. Yet, Mr. Ola grew richer and richer. He bought new cars, built another mansion, and said, "It's just blessings." Some people are born lucky, but those who lived near him knew his luck was bought with pain. Across the street lived Mr. Emmanuel, a humble teacher and devoted Christian. Every morning and midnight, his prayers filled the air like thunder. His voice pierced through the walls of Ola's haven, disturbing the quiet darkness. One night, Mr. Ola visited him. He smiled, though his eyes betrayed irritation. "Ah, teacher, your prayers are powerful, but please, reduce your volume. You disturb my tenants." Emmanuel smiled gently. "Sir, I pray so that darkness will not reign in the street." Ola's smile faded slightly. You are a man of faith indeed. Maybe I should refund your rent if you ever move into my compound to keep your peace." But Emmanuel only replied, "I fear no evil. My God watches over me." That night, for the first time, the lights in Mr. Ola's house flickered. He couldn't sleep. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw shadows crawling along his ceiling, whispering, "The light is coming." Days later, Emmanuel began to notice strange things. He saw Mr. Ola pacing the compound at midnight, holding a clay pot and a red cloth. He heard faint chants, not in any known language. One evening, Emmanuel waited in silence, Bible in hand. When he saw Mr. Ola kneel at the gate, digging the soil and whispering, he shouted, "In the name of the Most High, what are you doing?" Ola froze. His eyes turned red, his voice trembling. "You don't understand, teacher. I can't stop. They will take everything." As he spoke, a thick wind rose. The gate rattled violently. From the ground came a faint bleating, the echo of a dying ram. Ola fell to his knees, clutching his chest. Blood began to pour from his mouth. He screamed, "They promised me wealth, but they want more, always more." He vomited blood, gasping, his face twisting in agony. "I buried it here, the charm, under this soil. Every joy that enters this house must die so I can live." Then, with a final cough, he collapsed and lay still, blood soaking the soil that had made him rich. The next morning, police and elders gathered. They dug the entrance where Ola fell and found charms, wrapped in red and black cloth, cowries soaked in dried blood, and bones of animals buried deep. The house was sealed. The tenants moved out immediately, leaving behind their possessions. Days later, grass began to grow through the cracks of the compound floor, red at the roots, as if the earth itself bled. From that day, Ola's haven became a warning to the city. People said at night, when the wind passes by, you can hear a faint voice whispering from the gate, "The house remembers." And the elders would say to their children, "Wealth gained through blood brings sorrow without end. A house built on sacrifice will one day demand its builder's life."